We have passed the halfway point, but we are still going strong. I have a familiar guest with us, one of my favorite people, one of the smartest, best tax minded people I've ever met or could think of. Wayne Shelton from Shelton Associates CPA and my partner is back on the show tonight for some seriously good conversation. Wayne, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I appreciate you taking the time out of what is a ramping up tax season, but I know that you've got things well under control in your world over there. So I want to take some of the things that you do well and those practical ideas, practical operations, and get those out there so that other people can use them as well. And one of the things that you do very well at Shelton Associates is that you've become proactive in your mindset. So it used to be a reactive tax factory where you just did compliance work, and every once in a while somebody asked you a clever question, and of course you had the knowledge to answer it, to now proactively going out and hunting out solutions for pain points for your clients. So what I want to ask you is, in the world of what seems like ever-changing tax laws, how do you as a business leader or you as a tax planner find the balance between planning and looking to the future, saying, hey, this might change, hey, beware, and offering cautions and stuff, but not getting distracted with unnecessary speculation and what if scenarios that can detract from the core business operation?
It's a great question, and the timing is also perfect because there are a lot of changes coming down the pipe. To give you a little history, there were many, many years. I've been doing this for 50 years, and probably the first 35 years that I did it, there were hardly any changes. There were some depreciation changes, maybe, but that's the bulk of it. But in the last 5 years, even 10 probably, but particularly 5, there have been so many changes, and they're just coming rapid fire. Give you an example. We've got this BOI thing, beneficial ownership information that has changed 4 times in the last month. It's just, they set it up, a court knocks it down, another appeals court brings it back. It's just back and forth, back and forth. And also now what we're getting ready to go into is a new administration where there are going to be some significant changes. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the things that are going to happen, and such as Social Security not being taxable, tips not being taxable, overtime not being taxable, some things like that, and several others. All this is talk at this point, okay? I think that a lot of things will change, but I think what we've got to watch out for is not get overly excited about the rhetoric. And that's what I have that all the time. I have clients that call me and say, hey, I see they're going to make, the tips are not going to, how are we going to figure that? We don't have a clue. We don't even know if that's going to be the law. So what we try to tell people is don't get too excited, keep an eye on it, but we're going to let you know when things substantially change. And one of the things that we do, and I think this is really important, and you should have, whoever works with you should be doing this for you. They should be getting on periodically and doing a little short video and say, okay, here's where we are on this situation, and this situation. And those can be very short, 1 or 2, 3 minutes max. And we do that all the time. For example, Ryan, you just did one the other day about the Department of Revenue in Kentucky is shutting down for 2 weeks. They, in their great wisdom, they picked the last 2 weeks of corporate tax season, February 28th to March 15th, one of the worst times in the whole year to shut down, to re-up their system, which means they'll have a lot of bugs. They'll come in, it's going to be a big mess. But what you did is you sent that out to all of our clients so that they'll understand that when things get slowed down in that last 2 weeks, here's the reason for it. So we'll try to do that on a lot of these type things.
Let me jump in and emphasize a point that you made about a minute ago. Is we were talking about not getting caught up kind of in the what if scenarios types. And I think if I'm pulling a message out, because I want people to be able to write this down, they're supposed to be watching with a pen and paper, is that it's okay to be aware of, to be watching and tracking the progress of something, but you don't need to be running and jumping the gun and altering your business operations and altering your mindset. And of course, causing undue anxiety with the what ifs of, well, if this changes and I'm going to have to do all of these crazy things and I need to brace for this and brace for that. Allow it to pass the House, pass the Senate, get put into law. They're going to have to release rules, precedents, and instructions on it. And in that time period, almost always, there's some type of grace period. If they pass something in March, they'll usually say effective July 1st, right? So there's usually some type of buildup and grace period. Then you just said rely on your people. That would be your accountants, your advisors, your experts to say, hey, let us guide you through the situation and tell you what's going to change. And so be aware, have some of that communication. And then, of course, you're kind of getting into the next question I wanted you about with communication. You talked about sending out some videos and just dripping content into these people's situation. But we of course know that tax planning is not just about compliance work, not at all. It's about strategic decision making. It's about where are the best practices for you and your business and your industry so that you can maintain frequent high level communication with your experts and then down the chain to your employees and subordinates. So, how do we help people stay in step with that high level decision making and the communication to our staff ourselves and then to our clients? And you mentioned some of the videos. Are there any other regular type of meetings, regular type of press releases or content that gets shot out there?
Yes, and what we'll do is we meet once a week with our staff, and one of the things we always talk about is the changes coming down the pipe. And we know there will be a lot of them. I mean, there's even talk about doing away with individual income tax. How awesome would that be? That would be wonderful for everybody. But if you go too far down that road, you're going to make some decisions that are not correct. So what we try to do is make sure our staff understands what's going on. Then we try to get it out to the clients so that they will be aware of what's going on and at least what's being talked about. But one of the worst places you can get your information is off the internet and off of all the articles that are put out there, because those things a lot of times are just written to get your attention. Now, so that you'll be in their advertising and look at that type of thing. So you just got to be careful of what you watch for. There's so many firms that are still in the old tax factory mode that they don't attempt to even tell their people, their clients, what's going on. They need to be doing that. And if you're working with somebody that is in that mode, you're probably not going to have a great avenue for getting your information. But we try to be very proactive and let our people know what's going on when we know what's going on. And the videos are a great way to do it. Sometimes we'll send out an email, a mass email to everybody, but those are well received. And back during COVID, when the law was changing almost sometimes 3 times a day, we were actually putting out some videos. We put out a video one time. We said, this will probably change very quickly. By the time we got off of doing the video and sent it out, the law had changed again. That's how things work this way. Just to kind of give you guys an overall look, there'll be some significant depreciation changes, I think, this year. I think those we can count on, but there'll be a lot of other ones too. But just don't get too excited yet. Just stay calm. Don't try to make any decisions based on things that are being talked about. I think you mentioned that can really be disastrous, because if you make a change based on think you're going to buy a piece of equipment and they're going to change the depreciation to get 100% and they don't, that's going to be a problem. And then last year we waited a little longer than normal and filed extensions on a few people that had some significant depreciation, because we thought that the law was going to be changed. We were told that the law was going to be changed. Actually, there was a bill in Congress that would have changed it. They just totally ignored it, never did anything about it. Now, this year, it'll be different. I think in the middle of the year, we're going to know some things, and we'll be able to actually, most of those things will probably go back and make it retroactive to the 1st of 25. That's typically the way they do it. That's what I'm expecting this year.
Gotcha. And Wayne, I really want to drive your point home real quick, because you said it just like it was an ordinary sentence, but it really had some weight to it. Is we had about a dozen or so clients last year, so that's the year 24 for the 23 tax return, that were really asset and depreciation heavy clients of ours. Yes. And with this huge potential change to depreciation and what happens with capitalized assets, we proactively went to these 12 and 15 people and said, hey, if this law changes, it will have this significant impact to your situation. You do what you want. It's your tax return ultimately, and it's your company. But if you wait and we file an extension, which we normally wouldn't do, this is the potential benefit. But it may happen and it may not happen. So you're going to have to wait to see what happens. If it works out, it's a huge thumbs up. If it doesn't work out, it's business as usual. But we want to professionally put the pause button on you. So that took some high-level communication. And in some instances, we had to remind those business owners 2 months, 3 months down the road why we were doing that again, as they were getting impatient in this not normal circumstance. So let me ask you one final question before we cut out to a commercial. So you have these changes, you have this communication, and things are going on. You talked about client communication. Tell me about the internal workings. How do you get your team to stay in alignment when change is happening because life is throwing it at us and we just want to show up and do our regular job?
Well, and one of the cool things about that is we have an outstanding staff, and we'll have somebody that say, "Hey, have you seen this? We just got an email from the Department of Revenue that they're shutting down for 2 weeks." That was actually one of our staff said, "Have you seen this?" And we had not. He saw it just as soon as it came out. He saw it. So all of our staff is watching for those things all the time and helping us stay up to date on that. And that is pretty awesome because what we'll do a lot of times is we'll say, "Okay, here's going to be a major change. And Josh, you're the guy that figured this out. You're the guy that's done the research on it. We're going to let you train the rest of our staff as to how to implement this." So I just don't sit there and preach at people and say, "Okay, here's the way it's going to be." We use everybody here. And
Wayne, let me jump in right here because you're about to make some really good, detailed, serious points. And I want to bring these points back right after the break because we're hard up against the wall. So let's put a pin right there about how you get the staff to execute these changes. And we'll be right back with our final segment of Pivotal Change and more Wayne Shelton right after this.